everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see you all. Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the Daily Antidote of Song. I still didn't check. Day 551, I think. I'm really glad you're all here. And I am super excited today to be continuing our Latino, Latina, Latinx Heritage Week celebration with Judith Cohen, who's going to be singing with us today. And before we begin, I would like to welcome everybody on Facebook Live to the Daily Antidote of Song. Thank you for joining us today. Glad to see all of you out there. I do want to shout out Bob and Christiana. We're sending you lots of healthy vibes, and we're going to talk about that later in the program. And I want to, but I know they're watching here on Facebook, and I want to say hi to everybody here in the room. Thank you, of course, to Katie from Carpe Diem Arts, who is running the tech today. Thank you to Anna for being here today in Maine. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you. Phil in Newcastle, who was there with his dad, Tommy, and we didn't actually get to meet the other person, but we can later. Hello, everybody in Newcastle. Nice to see you, and that will also come up later. Annette in California, hello. Becky in British Columbia, hello. Hi, Kathy in Virginia. Hello, Trish. Nice to see you today. Hello, Bronwyn in British Columbia. Hello to Adele. Nice to see you today. Coming in from Maryland. And Sue Sean, glad to have you today. Hello to Sheila in Florida. Oh, Sue Sean in Massachusetts. Sheila in Florida. Busy Graham, Carpe Diem Arts. Glad you're here today, Busy. Hello to Julie in Ontario. Arlene in California, hello. Shari in New Hampshire. Deborah in Kentucky, Dan Walker in Virginia. You know what? Let's all take a breath. A little earlier than usual. I ran myself out already. Hello to Ruth coming in from Birmingham, England, and I have no idea if that's near Newcastle or not, but hopefully you can shout at each other hello. Hello to Susan in Ohio. Great to see you, and I love your heart shirt. Gary in Massachusetts, hello, nice to see you. Hi, Bonnie in Idaho. Hello, Sarah in Texas. Hello to, that is not Susan Giletti. I know that that's not Susan Giletti, but it's somebody who is definitely close to Susan Giletti, and I'm not remembering your first name, but I know you used to come in the room a lot. I'm really glad to see you. I also think you might be related to Anna Alter. Moving right along. Hello to Dane. Nice to see you today. And hello to Kate in Charlottesville and Susan in Seattle and Amanda and Miles. Hello, nice to see you guys hanging out in Michigan. Hello, Miles. So happy to see your little face. You look like you're having a fun day. Luda in Victoria. Hello, nice to see you. And hugs to Mark. Ann in Nashville. Hello, nice to see you. Juanita in Texas. Hello. Hello to Caroline in D.C. Hello to Nancy's Irish Cow in Washington State. Aloysius in Massachusetts. Steve and Michelle in Silver Spring. Hello, Al on his guitar, focused as usual. Hello to Storm in Massachusetts. Hi, Allison. Nice to see you today. Glad you're here, coming in from Maryland or D.C. Actually, I'm not Maryland. Hi, Lynn in Connecticut. Carol in Connecticut. Kathy in Virginia. Oh, I said hello to you already. And Bronwyn and Julie and Loriana and Kachina and Courtney. So if it's Friday, I think it is Kachina and Courtney, but now I don't remember. Hello to Lori and Alan and Janet and Cliff and others off video. So glad you guys are all here today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I saw somebody popping in right at the end. Everybody, let's take one more deep breath. Whew. Thank you, and thank you. I'm so glad you guys are all here today. I am going to open now by turning it over to Judith Cohen, who is coming in today from Toronto. Judith is an ethnomusicologist, not like me, a wannabe ethnomusicologist, but an actual one. And she studies and teaches and specializes in the music of the Sephardic Jews. And I think that she brought us a song also from this tradition the last time she was in the room. And you might remember, nope, she brought us something else the last time she was in the room. You might remember her because she was here during the Library of Congress Archive Challenge Week. And during her time here, we actually got to dialogue with someone from Spain who had come in to hear her, and it was part of the conversation. It was completely beautiful. Judith, we're so glad you're here today. Welcome, and we're looking forward to learning and hearing about your song.
Hi, thanks for having me back again. It's such great to be here. So just to clarify, the last one was a song from Spain which has a version in Sephardic culture, but not the one I taught. So you're sort of kind of right. Also, I have to say that my late grandfather, when I was a little girl, he used to tell me he was going to give me a ticket for speeding. And I think you beat me, Joe. I actually think that you managed to do almost the impossible and speak faster than I usually do. It's amazing. I'm in awe. I'm just blown away. So we're going to do today a song which is a Sephardic song, is a song from the Sephardic Jews who are the descendants of the Jews who were expelled from what was just becoming the modern country of Spain in 1492. We all know that date, 1492, Columbus, expulsion, and so on. And they went all over the Mediterranean. They went to the Western Mediterranean, Morocco. They went to the Eastern Mediterranean, today's Turkey, Greece, the Balkans, the old Ottoman Empire. And they kept on speaking whatever they spoke. They might have spoken Castilian, Catalan, Galician, Portuguese, and bit by bit it coalesced into what we call Ladino, or Judeo-Spanish. And of course, you know, it's got different forms in different places, and they picked up different tunes, different music, different songs. They made up new songs. So they use an old language, adapt it. So it's got words from Hebrew, words from Greek if it's in Greece, words from Turkey, Turkish if it's in Turkey, words from Arabic if it's in Morocco, and so on and so forth. They sang some old songs with new tunes and some newer songs like this one. So this one I'm very fond of. It's about how many ways there are to cook an eggplant. I don't actually cook. So for me, it's kind of great because, you know, I like to sing and I don't really like to cook. I'm very happy eating things that other people have cooked. I'll even wash the dishes if you invite me. But, you know, it's nice to have a song all about it. It's like collecting a bunch of recipe books on your shelf, and then you can admire the books and never actually have to go out and get the ingredients and do it. So what I'm going to do, there's an awful lot of words in the song. The refrain is in, and it can be in again in case you came in later, the chat. But I'll put it up in big letters first in a PowerPoint so we can all follow it together, and then we'll take the PowerPoint down so you can see me, which I think is less interesting than seeing the words, but you know, that's how it goes. So I am going to share my screen. I'm going to do that thing. It's so exciting. You know what? All these months on Zoom, year and a half on Zoom, and I'm still excited about sharing the screen. I think I'd sort of grow up and take it for granted by now, but it's still so much fun. Can you all see it? Okay, so la berenjena or la berenjena in modern Spanish, la Merendzhena in Ladino. Sometimes they say la berenjena. Je is the old Spanish ch sound. So they didn't say Don Quixote, they said Don Quixote or Don Quixote. It's a sung ode to the eggplant. Now the island of Rhodes, La Isla de Rodas, is off Greece and Turkey, and it's been Turkish, it's been Greek, it's Greek now, it's been Italian in its past, it's been all kinds of things. And most of the Jews of Rhodes were actually deported and sent to the camps in the Holocaust. Some got out on their Italian passports. Of those who survived, many live actually in California. There's a big Rhodesli, we call it, community in California. There's a community in Seattle. There used to be one in, I think, Atlanta, and here and there around the world. Once a year, they still, well, pre-pandemic, once a year they have still got together and actually gone to Rhodes and gone up and down the streets. And you can go online now, and there's a great museum of Jewish Rhodes that you can check out. And I wrote this out in Spanish because I was thinking in Spanish because of, you know, Latino, Latina, Latinx week. So what I'm saying is, existen manuscritos con las letras. There are manuscripts with this song, but only the words, not the tune. The tune is probably late 19th century, early 20th century. But since the 18th century, desde el siglo XVIII, there are manuscripts with this tune found in Sarajevo and other places. And the version, as I said, that we're going to do is from the Sephardic Jews of Rhodes. Now, another thing, typically, it's got 7 verses, and it's sometimes called 7 ways to cook an eggplant. But there's lots more verses. And in fact, I'll show you this again later when I take the screen down, but I have a whole bunch of them written into or typed and photocopied into my little songbook. I'll show it to you again when I'm on full screen. So I've picked out the most common verses to sing together, and the refrain, which is what you will mostly sing, but if you want to sing along with the words, they'll be there for you and you can sing along in the chat. A little bit about pronunciation. So we can call it Ladino, or we can call it Judeo-Spanish or Judeo-Spanish. It's also called Judesmo, Judeo-Spanish. In Morocco, they call it Haketia. In the old days, up until about the 1930s, it was written with Hebrew adapted characters. And now it's adapted to the Latin alphabet, but the spelling, the orthography, is only just being standardized now. So I made a few changes to the standard orthography, which is basically phonetic. Phonetic if you're thinking in terms of English. So ZH I'm using for the English sound pleasure, je, or the French sound je, pleasure, measure. DZH, just like English jump, je. I'm putting in accents for syllables, but Ladino doesn't usually use them. H isn't pronounced, and if it is, I write it with a double H, just so to distinguish. And the G is always the English hard G, g, as in good, or Spanish guia. And CH is just like in English and Spanish, as in church. Okay, so here we go. This is actually an eggplant and garlic and tomatoes that a neighbor from across the street gave me about a month ago. I was sitting out on my balcony talking to a friend, and we saw somebody jump over a fence in the garden across the street, and we thought maybe they were like burglars or something in broad daylight. And we sort of went, huh, what's happening? And then they jumped back over the fence and said, well, we thought we should just tell you why we were jumping over the fence, because we've rented it as an Airbnb, and the guy told us where to find the key, and we're so sorry we've gotten your way, and would you like an eggplant? I'm not making this up, because I couldn't make this up, right? I mean, it would be so unlikely. So that was the eggplant before I actually went back to the song and tried to figure out if I could find a recipe to cook it. But they were all so complicated that in the end, I did what everybody does. I went on Facebook to the Sephardic cooking group and said, what's the simplest way to cook an eggplant? So, siete modos, and I'll translate it for you in a second. Siete modos de guisado se guisa la berenjena. La primera que la guisa es la baba de Elena. Y la hace bocadicos y la mete en una cena. Esta comida la llaman comida de Merendzhena. And here is the refrain. My uncle Dzherasí loves drinking wine. With wine, everything was great for him. And it's a pun. So vino, vino, vino. Vino is the wine. And also vino is past tense of venir, of come. And it's used in the sense of, everything was just going great for him. It suited him well. So it's a nice little pun. And the funny thing is, I don't even drink wine, because I just don't like it. Like, I just don't like the taste of alcohol. You know, my uncles, when I was a kid and I was a teenager, they used to say, when are you going to stop drinking grape juice for the Passover Seder like the kids and start drinking wine? I still drink grape juice. But now that I'm grown up, I drink sparkling grape juice. So let's do the refrain once, and then I'll, if you want, I can stop sharing the screen, and you can look at it in the chat. So, a mi tío Dzherasí. A mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino. Que le agrada, you run that together, le agrada beber vino. Con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino. A mi tío Dzherasí, a mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino. Que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino, mucho y bien a él le vino, and you repeat that line, okay? So I'm just going to go through it quickly so you can see what the words mean, and then we'll sing some. There are 7 ways of cooking an eggplant. The first person who cooked it is Elena's grandmother. She makes little mouthfuls, and she makes that into a meal, and the meal is called the eggplant meal. The second one is the wife of the shamas. That's like the person who takes care of the synagogue, turns the lights on, sweeps the floor, makes sure everything is right. She digs it out, she hollows it, and she fills it up with spices, and this meal is called the dolma, the filling meal. The third one is my cousin Esther of Chiotis. She hollows it out and she fills it with a certain kind of rice, and they call it l'almondrotes, the name. And a certain kind of sort of casserole is delicious in color and in odor. Let's have a meal and eat and enjoy it with the 2 of us before the worm comes and takes all its taste away. In the holidays, you know, this kind of food always stands out, and let's also make little pastries and serve them with huevos jaminados. That's a special kind of long boiled egg over a very, very slow fire, like for 10 hours or 12 hours. And then you can keep them forever, and they have this sort of velvety taste. Or the alternative fifth verse is, one of the alternative fifth verse is Flor is her name, who learned it from a Greek woman dressed up as a Turkish woman. Que lo vino de una grega vestida a la turquina. And she used to beat a lot of eggs into it with a little bit of flour and cottage cheese and oil, and made this great meal. The sixth one was Estruga, the one who's married to Maimon and who's a relative of Abu Diente and a sister-in-law of Salomon. And she fried it with, she breaded it, and she squeezed some lemon on it, as she saw Pavucha, married to Firmon, doing it. And the seventh one is the coolest one, it's the best one, it's the más hanina, the nicest one. Philistine makes it, the daughter of the neighbor, and she puts it in the oven facing the kitchen with oil and pepper. And then the seventh one, the alternative one, Palestrina does it. She's the one who lives in Balat, which is a formerly Jewish area of Istanbul, next door to my niece. And, you know, she also uses pepper and oil, and it's really great. And it goes on and on and on. There are tons of verses, and actually some of the verses are really funny. Some of them make fun of this or that person, or they call them names. And obviously whenever these verses were made up, people knew exactly who they were referring to. So some of them are just sort of general, generic, kind of rude names that must have been a neighborhood joke. And some of them are obviously real people. This one was married to that one. Some of them are just names because they rhyme with the other names, I would assume. But I wanted to show you, I don't know if you can see me close up, but this is my songbook that I've been dragging around for 20 years. This is my real living room. I mean, I also take pictures of it and use it as a virtual background, but it's not virtual. I mean, it's virtual because we're online, but it's real because, wait a second, because I'm really sitting here, right? Sort of get mixed up these days between what's virtual and what's real. I sort of lost track. Anyway, this is my real live songbook that I drag around with me, and most of it's written out by hand, like this. And when I was young, I could actually read it without glasses. But the Eggplant song actually has 35 or 36 verses. And so I photocopied them, reduced the photocopy, literally cut it up with scissors and pasted it. So some is horizontal and some is vertical. And then I kind of added in notes, you know. And yes, I finally gave up during the pandemic and I scanned it all, which I'd been resisting doing for ages and ages. And I thought, well, I guess I'd better do it, you know. Right. So are we ready to sing? So do you all have the words? Yeah, you do? Okay. So you can sing with me as much as you like. Just so you know, in Ladino, there's no, if any of you speak Spanish from Spain, there's no lisping sound. There's no th sound. So all these C's are just like S in English, like unvoiced S. The C's are hard. If they're soft, I write them out as S, or I try to remember. There's no the sound for a Z. See, I'm Canadian and I remember to say Z instead of Z. What else is there to remember? Everything else I've written out pretty much phonetically, I think. Okay, so 7 ways to cook an eggplant. Let's go. 7 modos de guisado se guisa la merendzhena. And you can say either merendzhena or berenjena. They say both. La primera que la guisa es la baba de Elena. Y a las de bocadico si la mete en una cena. Esta comida la llaman comida de Merendzhena. And here comes the refrain. A mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien, y a él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien, a él le vino. La segunda que la guisa es la mujer de Shamas, la cavaca por adentro y la hinche de aromat. Esta comida la llaman la comida la dolma. Esta comida la llaman la comida la dolma. Y a mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien y a él le vino. La tercera que la guisa Es la primester de choti, la cavaca por arrientro y la hinche de arroz moti. Esta comida la llaman la comida al almondrote. Esta comida la llaman la comida al almondrote. Y a mi tío Dzherasí que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. La alburnía es saborida en color y en color. Cenaremos una cena, gozaremos los dos, antes que venga el gusano y le quite el sabor, antes que venga el gusano y le quite el sabor. Y a mi tío Dzherasí se le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. En las mesas de las fiestas siempre brilla el jandrajo, y al hacemos pastelicos, ellos brillan en los platos, esperando a ser servidos con los huevos jaminados, esperando a ser servidos con los huevos jaminados. Y a mi tío Dzherasí se le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. La quintena la sazía, por la flor de Merendzhena, lo que vido de una grega vestida a la turquina, les batía mucho huevo en un poco de farina, con queso fresco y aceite hacía una mellina. Y a mi tío Dzherasí se le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. Where was I? Wait, did we already do La Flor de Merendzhena? I've kind of lost track. Did we do it? We did. Okay, so we're on to the sixth, La Cecena. La cecena las hacía Estrugala de Maimón, la pariente de Abudiente, cuñada de Salomón, las freía rebanadas y exprimía un limón, que ansí lo vido hacer de pavucha de firmón. Y a mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. La setena, que la guisa es mejor y más janina, la prepara Filistí, la hija de la vecina, ya la mete en el forno, de cabeza a la cocina, con aceite, con pimienta, ya la llamo una mellina. Y a mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien ya él le vino. And the alternate seven, la setena las hacía, la bulisa pelestrina, la que mora va en Balat, al lado de mi sobrina, las dejaba en un rescaldo adentro de la cocina, con pimienta y aceite, era cosa muy janina. Y a mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho bien a él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino.
Woo! Judith, thank you so much. That was really, really fun. And what a treat to sort of go into the sort of inside of a culture through the recipes and the directions and the costumes and everything kind of all in there in one piece. And I really, really love that. And also love to hear that you don't actually like to cook. So what was the simplest way to cook an eggplant?
I don't remember, but it was something really simple, like you just sort of like cut it open and grill it.
There
And
you
then
go.
put anything you want on it.
I think there were guesses in the chat that was going to be the answer. So that's really fun. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep the discussion a little short today so that we have a chance to sing that refrain a few more times through and maybe get another verse again. So, just a couple quick questions. Can you say something briefly about? I think it was in 2019 where Spain offered citizenship to Sephardic Jews. I think sort of part of a atonement or some way of trying to fix past wrongs. Do you have any?
Um, well, actually, that ended in, well, theoretically, it ended in 2019. So it opened in 2015, and the pandemic kind of stretched it out a bit, but new applications ended in about 2 years ago in October 2019. So you had to prove, um, either through genealogy, mostly through genealogy, actually, that you were descended from the Jews who were expelled from Spain. And then there were a number of other things I'm actually not Sephardic, so I couldn't do it. I have everything else that you needed, like I have the connections to Spain and the Spanish language tests and the Spanish citizenship tests and all the rest of it, but I don't actually have, to my knowledge, Sephardic blood. But you had to do a language test and you had to do a citizenship test, and it actually ended up costing quite a lot of money because you had to have notarized documents and, birth certificates and this certificate and police records and that certificate. And they turned down rather a lot of people, but they let in quite a lot of people. I know quite a few people from Turkey, England, Morocco, the United States, especially, some from Israel, I think, some from Australia who did get it. And Portugal's is still open. So with Portugal's, there's no date, there's no end date, but the genealogical proof is, if anything, I think more demanding. But once you have that, I think the rest of it, you don't have to do language tests or anything like that.
So, do you have anything to recommend if anybody in the room wants to learn a little bit more about the history of Sephardic Jews? I think, sort of in the notion of a lot of the things we've been talking about over the last few weeks in here, or always in here, that idea of cultures that are either pushed out or ostracized, that idea of atonement, that idea of belonging and not belonging, immigration and not, language, food, dress styles, everything all coming together, I think, very much in what I know about the history of Sephardic Jews. Is there a place where you would point us?
Oh, there's a lot of places. I can't, it's really sort of hard to say one on the spot, but it's been a diaspora and a diaspora of a diaspora, right? Because you had the expulsion from Spain. Well, I'm just going to say Spain, Aragon, Leon, Catalonia, and Portugal. And then they weren't always accepted where they ended up, and then there were things that happened over the years, but in the Holocaust, for example, in Thessaloniki, which is called Salonika, its old name in Thessaloniki, 97% of the Jewish population, which was huge, it was a huge part of the city, was killed in the Holocaust. So, it actually, and then there were diasporas from the diaspora to secondary diasporas in other parts of Europe and in the Americas, both North and South America, Central America. And it just sort of goes on and on. So to me, there's two kinds of, there's a physical diaspora, and then there's another kind of diaspora, which is those who never left Spain and Portugal, and they were forced to convert to Christianity, which at the time meant Catholicism, because that's what there was there at the time, and live secretly as Jews and outwardly as Catholics. And some of them actually did convert sincerely and become Catholics, and that was the end of the story, but some kept secret Jewish practices, which is what the Inquisition was looking for. So to me, that's a kind of different kind of exile. You're physically in the same place. You haven't got up and walked away, but you're exiled in the sense that you're exiled from who you were, and you have to be somebody totally different. You have to learn all these new things and eat things and go to church and say new prayers and not do this and learn to do that and so on. And a lot of these communities are actually emerging now, not only in Spain and Portugal, but in the south of Italy and parts of Central and South America and the Southwest United States and so on.
Thank you.
But if you go to my website, I have a couple of articles, a few articles that are online, or I can send them to you separately. I just don't have them handy with me. But I have a few general articles about Sephardic music that give some background and so on, and that are online and that you can get.
Great. So your website link is in the chat, and that's perfect. And we're going to send out more of the text that you sent me in tomorrow's email for people who want to learn a little bit more. And
I just want to answer one thing, Julie in Ontario. Hi. Yes, quite. It's kind of a trope, like it's almost a cliche by now that you have Portuguese cleaning ladies to Jewish families who say, "Oh, we light candles on Friday nights." At this point, it's become such a thing that we don't even know anymore who really did and who didn't. But yes, they did, and on the 14th, and then again on November 11th, I'm giving a talk on my fieldwork with the Hidden Jews of Portugal, where I talk about all that in detail and the role of music in their lives and everything. So if you're interested in finding out about that, you can also write to me and I can tell you. But yes, it was a thing that they lit, not candles, but a certain kind of oil lamp on Friday nights.
Thank you, Judith. Is your email address on your website, or should we pop it in the?
It is. You can write me directly on the website. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I love it. So I'm going to transition us just for a moment to a couple quick things. One is that I heard from Christiana this morning, and Bob is actually not doing so great. And so if everyone wants to pop messages in for Bob, we're going to send him all of the strength and energy that we always do. And then if you want to, please stick after today's goodbyes for a couple other quick messages about upcoming things and in general, some things that we could do to help. So thank you. And Bob, if you're out there listening to it at this point, we are sending you so much love, and we know that you're struggling, and we love you, and we can't wait to have you back in this room with us. And I'm going to now switch gears yet again. And I think we might have a 97-year-old birthday boy in the room with us today, which I just think is awesome. So I want to spotlight Phil, who is in Newcastle with his dad, and maybe mom in the background, I'm not sure, maybe sister in the background, I can't really tell, she's very far away. And, oh, sister, I see, yep, we've met before, right? Yes, hi, nice to see you again. And so Judith, I think maybe you have a little bit of a birthday song for Tommy in Newcastle, who is turning 97.
Sure. I was thinking we'll do it the way we do it in Quebec, and we take a song by the famous Québécois singer-songwriter Gilles Vigneault, and we say dear, and then we say the person's name, so it's different every time. It's your turn to have your friends sing to you of their affection for you. Cher Tommy, c'est à ton tour de te laisser chanter d'amour. Cher Tommy, c'est à ton tour de te laisser chanter d'amour. Happy birthday, and we say in Ladino, mejorados 120, and may you live even better till 120 at least.
Yay! Thank you so much. 120.
Give away.
Well, thank you so much, Judith, and happy birthday, Tommy. And Phil, thank you so much for bringing your dad into the room on his birthday. We're so excited to be able to be in here celebrating all of us together with your dad, and to meet him, and to and hello also to your sister, whose name of course I'm forgetting, but I know I knew. Thank you for being here also today. And let's see. So I think it would be really great if what we might do afterwards, in addition to chatting for a minute about things we can do, is we might all unmute and sing our own happy birthday to Tommy if they're still in the room, so we can get one of those great cacophonous happy birthdays. But I just want to thank Judith again for bringing us that great song, and for bringing us so many thoughtful discussion topics, and so many thoughtful things to take home with us today. And also I just want to say that I absolutely love the idea that we're singing a Sephardic Jewish song and that we're talking about Spanish and Latino culture from a woman who was born in Montreal and lives in Toronto. So I just think it sort of sums up our basic whole Daily Antidote thing here, which is that we're all in some way, all of us in some very similar loving place, or we have the opportunity at least to be in that similar loving place, no matter where we've come from. So Judith, do you think you could sing that chorus through twice more for us, just so we get one more chance to put it back in our heads?
Sure, absolutely. I love singing about wine when I don't drink it. It makes me feel like, more grown up, as if I actually drank it. And I don't know if you saw the songbook properly before, but originally, in the old verses, the refrain actually wasn't even in the songbook. It wasn't even in the song. I'm not sure at what point the refrain was added. But there's all these verses, and I've I put them in and I actually cut and pasted, like literally cut with the scissors and pasted with like a glue stick. You remember like what cut and paste used to mean? And, you know, most of it is written out by hand and so on. So let's have that verse again. A mi tío Dzherasí, to my uncle Dzherasí. He loves drinking wine, que le agrada beber vino. With wine, 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 con el vino, vino, vino. Muncho y bien, much and well and good. El le vino, to him came, if you want the literal translation. A mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino. One more time. We'll raise it a little bit. A mi tío Dzherasí, que le agrada beber vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino, con el vino, 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 mucho y bien a él le vino. So if you sometimes see it with different words in the verses, it's because there really are a lot of versions and they don't always have the same recipes in the same order, and they don't even always have the same recipes. So if you see or hear somebody sing a different tune, because in fact, unlike many of the Sephardic songs that I sing, this is a well-known one. Most of the ones I sing are not well-known, but this one is. And if you hear a different version, it's great. It just means somebody learned it differently, which is, again, what, you know, what folk music is all part of.
Thank you, Judith. That was totally great. And I have to say, like, you took us back in time in more than one way, because you just reminded us that the words cut and paste actually used to mean something different, which I really had forgotten about. And it was kind of fun to ponder that for a moment.
Ponder, as long as you don't ponder it with the real scissors, right? I still do it, actually.
That's really fun.
I did want to make a remark. Someone said here that, I forget what year, the Revels included this song in the Andalusian Revels. And just so you know, these songs were never part of Andalusia. They're diaspora songs. So there are Sephardic songs whose words, not music, whose words go back, like the one I did a year ago, that there is a Sephardic version of that song. And they're mostly the narrative ballads and some of the wedding songs. So the words might be the same, or the same story might be the same, but they've acquired different tunes over the centuries. But songs like this actually never set foot in Andalus, well, never set, you know, song foot, so to speak, in Andalusia till now, like till the 20th century, when Sephardic songs started becoming popular and people started looking up songs and singing them in Spain and in France and in the States and everywhere else. But it's not from Andalusia, and most of them aren't. Just, you know, sorry, I mean, I'm being a bit
No.
academic and nerdy about it, but I just...
No, actually, while you were talking, I was thinking that maybe we can figure out some great excuse to highlight something where you can come back again and we can actually learn a lot more about this culture, and even from different people, and we can maybe have a separate talk about it, because it's just so clear. We could spend an hour in a room with you and learn a lot, and then spend another 5 hours in a room with you and learn more.
Whoever said we love nerdiness, you're my new best friend.
That's awesome. Yeah, all right. All the self-proclaimed nerds in the room, please. Woo! Yeah, okay. And if you have your hands down, we already know you're lying, so, right, nice try. All right, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody out there on Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us today. Judith, thank you again for singing. It was absolutely beautiful. Katie, thanks for running the tech. And Facebook, please join us tomorrow and all weekend, and then actually all next week, as we continue to highlight Latino, Latina, and Latinx culture in honor of the Heritage Month. So thank you so much again for being here, Facebook. Let's all say goodbye.
And happy birthday, Tommy.